If you following my other channel, the Anton Daniels channel, which we'll be doing a Monday night live stream on that. If you following the Anton Daniels channel, you know that I ran into some people while I was out that I wind up connecting with and doing business with, right? And it didn't really click, and you got to forgive me for a second because I'm a C student. It didn't really click until I slept on it overnight, and then it started really making sense, right? Because I was really perplexed. I mean, almost to the point to where I've been losing sleep because I've been following the migrant crisis. Shout out to my girl, Carrie. I've been following this migrant crisis and the UAW strikes, and I see a lot of people and content creators are starting to come over to my side. They trying to do the things that I do as far as the money, but they can't do what I do because nobody do it better than me. You know, shout out to all of my people that subscribe to the Millionaire Morning Show. Shout out to all of my people on Facebook. But when I deep dive into something and it becomes bothersome for me, I have to stick with it and I mine it out until I understand it. Back when I was a developer, I used to dream in code. And in a lot of instances, I wouldn't solve for the problem until I went to sleep at night. And then I would get up at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning and I would hit the computer until I figured it out. Being a software engineer is really just solving for a problem that most people don't even know that they have yet. It's coming up with solutions, is presenting some people with an opportunity that they didn't know that they needed until you then presented it to them. A lot of times they think that they came up with it. People forgot that Steve Jobs invented the iPhone, and before people even realized what a smartphone was, he showed them and then gave them solutions to things that they didn't even know existed, right? And so I've always operated like that. I've always been a night owl. I've always been the type of person that needed to solve for something in the middle of the night. I don't know what that is, right? But it's bothered me. It's perplexed me. And when I was talking to him and I was having conversations with him, and I would never say his name, and this was a Friday night that I was thinking about this, and I couldn't sleep, and I was tossing and I was turning, and I had just flew back in from Dallas. And I was trying to understand, what is this migrant crisis about? Because even though we had a conversation last week and we were talking specifically about who's the contractors, what is the incentive, why did they become sanctuary cities in the first place, what is Brandon Johnson getting out of it, how does it tie back into the Biden administration, what is Eric Adams doing over there in New York, why are they building tent cities, why are they estimating that it's costing $140,000 roughly per year per family in order to make sure that these migrants are taken care of? Why did they open up the border and why are they flooding in here? Why are the majority of them coming from Venezuela? Why is it the majority men? It's way more men than it is women. You know, those type of things keep me up at night. And sometimes I uncover problems or I uncover things that make me a little bit hesitant to even have these type of conversations on lives. If you know, you know. Pay attention. Follow along. Let's kick it for a minute. Sometimes I start to deep dive even to the point to where I'm not even really sure if I should be using my regular web browser to understand what was going on. But when I had that conversation with a guy, because then, you know, after I kicked it with him and then I talked to him on Sunday morning and we were going over some things, I got connected with a friend of a friend, and then, you know, certain conversations was had offline. And this was really the conclusion. Let me put it to you like this, and then I'm going to connect it on the back end, all right? The South has largely always had an advantage over the North because of immigration. I'm not talking about regular people. I'm not talking about people that feel like they're entitled to a job. I'm not talking about people that's protesting for $15, $16, $17, $18, $19 an hour. I'm not talking about these UAW striking members. I'm talking about the haves and the have-nots. When we're talking about a class war that has already been executed, being implemented right before your very eyes, way before you ever even opened up your eyes and your little chinny chin chin, the South has always had an advantage over the North. And the reason that the South has had an advantage over the North, even when it came to the slave trade, even when it came to immigration, is because labor is cheaper. I was talking to somebody over in Dallas when I was down there because I was doing some research from an investment perspective. Don't worry, I'm going to tie it back in for y'all. I was doing some research in Dallas, and they said, Anton, we can get these houses up in half the time that you're getting them up over in Detroit. Because a lot of people know that I'm breaking down in the Patreon exactly what it's costing me and what the process is of building these houses because it's my first time doing it, right? And I'm building multiple different properties at the same time. He said, Anton, I was talking about security in Dallas. He said, let me connect you with this person. I talked to the person. They said, man, we throwing these houses up 10 at a time and we doing it in less than half the time that it's taking you to do one. And, I'm slow. So I'm like, oh, really? Wow, okay, interesting. But it didn't start clicking until I started making them phone calls on Sunday morning. Then I ran into the guy that I ran into at Somerset Mall, and we was having a conversation, and I talked to him Sunday morning, and I said, hey, man, I know we about to do business. I know you connected me with this person and that person. I know you're going to put a whole lot more money in my pocket as a result of us moving a lot faster and being able to run that number up. What's going on? He said, man, let me tell you something. I put people to work. I said, how are you able to do it so much faster than the contractors that I already got? He said, I got the licenses. I said, what licenses? He said, I'm the person that can get things done. Now, this guy, huge guy, 6'6", 6'7", don't look like he ever picked up a hammer in his life. Chaldean, go over to have dinner with him, lamb chops. Don't you know that they're funneling? Shouldn't even be having this conversation. Don't you know that they're funneling migrants up here in order to replace you so that we can get this work done? Don't you know that people that have resources are incentivizing for the borders to stay open? Don't you know that lobbyists play a certain game that you're not familiar with? And so when you sit there and you're easily swayed on which way that you're supposed to vote based off of whatever presidential candidate or whatever legislator or whatever Congress member or whatever mayor is in front of you, and they're telling you these surface level points, don't you know that the rich people win no matter what? He's like, man, I got a whole team of Venezuelans that's working for me. Honest to God, sat there and told me that to my face. He said, I got a whole team of Venezuelans that's ready to go right now. We throwing up this building over here, and we throwing up that building over there, and we doing this house over there already. We already taking care of it. Come on, Anton, let's jump into this. Now, I'm at a loss for words, right? Because I'm a patriot. I'm an American, but I'm also a capitalist. So how do you balance the two? How do you balance the two? Because it's all competition. Come on, man. I need y'all to put it together. Come back to the front of the congregation and put it all back together. When you vote Democrat, rich people win more. When you vote conservative, rich people win more. Your president leaving the border open, your Congress leaving the border open, your legislators leaving the border open actually allows for us to get richer, and it creates a bigger divide between the haves and the have-nots. It's a class war. You sitting here thinking that you're being displaced because you black. You being displaced because you make too much money and you complain too much and you don't do enough work. So now it's a possibility that I can get whatever it is that I need to get done in half the time because I'm the employer. I'm the person that's writing the checks. And the people that write the checks, they pay less in taxes and they're more incentivized in order to be able to continue to remove you from the equation in order to ensure that we run the numbers up. So when you see your president, he say, listen, this is a black issue. This is a white issue, rappers, whatever, so on and so forth. We need to make sure that we're inclusive to everybody. You trying to figure out why it is that so many migrants, listen, 500,000 of them overnight, literally last week, just got legalized. Ability to be able to work. You trying to figure out why Eric Adams is on every single platform, and then next thing you know, Biden is over in New York City, and he's having a conversation saying that, hey, man, we need to be able to put these people to work. You see these protests that's happening over there with the UAW? We're going to go over it today. We're going to go over it today. You see these protests that's happening over at the UAW? You see all of these people talking about what they want and how you need to pay $30 an hour over to the Taco Bell worker. You see all of these jobs that keep going unfulfilled, and the majority of the people are saying that they want more money, but they want less work, and they chilling at the crib, and they getting government benefits and all of that. Who you think gonna make money on top of that? Who you think gonna benefit as a result of it? When you start to break it down, listen, I'm a C student. It took me a minute to start to figure out. I had to have some conversations in order to understand it, so I'm not the smartest person in the world. I'm not the sharpest knife in the drawer. I'm not the coolest blade in the tool shed, whatever metaphor that you want to use. Who do you think benefits when you vote the way that you vote? When you see all of these contractors, if y'all got to get out of your comfort zone. Go down to Texas. Go down to Miami. Look at how fast that they built that place up. You think Miami is just cool because it's cool? Because they in the South and we in the North? You think they throwing up all of them buildings and all of them condos that fast because they just better than you? You don't think that it's being incentivized for them to continue to make money as a result of it? You think that they building all of them cookie cutter houses as fast as they possibly can in Texas because they just better than what's going on in the North? No. They've had a strategic advantage for a long time. And now it's become political, and political issues then become financial come-ups for people that have versus the people that don't have. Political issues are the come-up. You keep trying to figure out, why do these people keep wrestling over power? Why do these Congress members and legislators and all of these people continue to try to maintain relevancy inside of these legislative branches? You ain't put it together yet? I certainly didn't. I'm not even going to hold you accountable as a result of it. You ain't put it together yet? It's the flow of money. You think that this is a race war. You think that this is a gender issue. You think that it matters about whether or not you women or men. You didn't understand how it is that they built up Dubai so fast. You don't even understand the dynamics of how money works over in these other countries when you go and visit. You think it's just oil money. You don't get to see how the other people live over there. Go over to Qatar. You're trying to understand why it is that they're able to give these soccer players billion-dollar deals. You ain't got it yet. You ain't figured it out. Listen, Trump renegotiated the North American Free Trade Agreement, and then he leveraged a trade war over with China. Now we got a semiconductor chip shortage. Then we had logistic issues. Now we have a crisis when it comes to how much money is being flown inside and outside of the United States. And we need another voter block. And you still ain't figured it out. You just over there getting displaced. You still making the same decisions that you're making, regardless of what your circumstance is. And you think that it's just going to play out for you just because the people is going to work on your behalf, because they got your back. They're going to forgive your student loans. If they forgave your student loans tomorrow, it wouldn't even matter, because somehow, some way, the people that have are going to get richer, and the people that don't have, or the people that are in the middle class, are going to continue to live the same life with the wool over their eyes, and you guys are going to be the ones that pay for the people that have to have more. Am I saying too much? Am I going too deep? Is this too much over your head? You want me to dumb it down and start to talk back about the races, war? Oh man, white people, I can't believe he called me a name. Man, that white man ain't got no more power than you do. It's more of them on social services than you. They've been completely displaced because they thought that it was a race war and they wasn't paying attention how the rug was getting swept right under their feet. What you think that when people go to these dinners and they having these conversations, let me tell you something, bro. You know why rich people dress poor and drive regular cars? Do you know why rich people dress poor and drive regular cars? We all had it wrong, myself included. And that they only start to show money when they're around other rich people that they feel comfortable with. I'm not talking about the regular everyday millionaire whose equity is tied up in his home, but he can't really maintain a lifestyle. Do you know why rich people drive regular cars and they look regular as hell, more regular than you? It has nothing to do with money. It has everything to do with the fact that they moving in a certain way that don't allow for them to really be visible. They can't bring attention to themselves because they moving a little bit differently. And they in certain social circles, and they don't want to be tied to certain things. And so as a result, they want to, but they can't, because the type of business that they move in or the type of lifestyle that they live it's not really conducive for visibility. They have to blend in because they don't have a choice. Otherwise, the visibility messes up their bag. It creates is not because they trying to be stealthy and that they used to money. They're very, very flashy. Listen, go over there to Saudi Arabia, go over there to Dubai, and look at how they live. They've had money much longer than the people over here in the United States. Their cabs are Lamborghinis. If they are comfortable continuing to live this wealthy lifestyle, they have billion-dollar garages. Billion-dollar garages. The reason why they can be that way is because it's conducive for them to be able to live their regular life over there. The reason that you can't is because the businesses that you involved in and the lifestyle that you have to live in order to be able to generate those resources causes for you to have to be Frank Lucas. You cannot wear the chinchilla because you cannot bring visibility to yourself because you don't know what is going to happen and whose bag you're going to mess up as a result of somebody then paying attention to who you are. That's the difference between an entertainer and a person that continues to have to move a certain way because they can't bring visibility to them. It has nothing to do with new money versus old money. It has everything to do with a certain type of money that's coming in that cannot bring visibility to themselves. They can't do it. They can't live like that. It's not that they don't want to. It's not that they don't do it when it's convenient for them. Is that they can't do it. Y'all been fooled. Y'all have been fooled. Y'all have been finessed, and y'all have been conditioned to think a certain way because that is the way in which they keep you poor and in the middle class. It's worse to be in the middle than it is to be poor or rich. It's not even about being targeted, Azriel. They're not worried about being clipped. They worried about the visibility that comes from other things that people don't even realize creates visibility for them. You'll never see me coming if I don't want you to see me coming anymore. I've learned so much over this past week and a half. And it all seems surface level, but it was so much deeper when I started having conversations with people that explained it to me a little bit differently. I'm a be a completely different person in the way that I move because it's conducive for the direction that I want to go in. Don't worry, we'll get there.